Welcome to How to Develop an Effective Content Marketing Strategy from SilverTech. We're a digital marketing agency working to redefine how businesses engage with and understand their customers. To get the most out of today's webinar, here are a few tips. The presentation itself will last about 30 minutes. Q&A will follow. Please post any questions you may have in the webinar chat pane. Your participation in the polls is greatly appreciated. Slides, recording, and tools will be made available after the broadcast. And of course, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Ian Hughes, content strategist here at SilverTech. I write for SilverTech's blog, podcasts, and our webinars, and I'm joined again by Samantha Maltis, SilverTech's principal strategist, marketing manager, and content marketing strategy expert. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Ian.
Just a quick reminder of who we are. We're SilverTech, a digital marketing agency and technology company, and we've been in the digital space since 1996. We've more than 80 crew members engaged in more than 400 active projects across a variety of industries.
Our goal is to redefine how organizations understand their audience and their entire customer journey. We do so with intuitive design and a seamless sharing of data across the main technology platforms, your content management system, marketing automation platform, and then your CRM.
The agenda for today's webinar looks like this. We're going to cover content strategy versus content marketing strategy. We'll answer the question, why do I need a content marketing strategy? We'll review the essential elements of such a strategy. We'll discuss how to implement a content marketing strategy and conclude with our recommended priorities and KPIs, key performance indicators. So content strategy versus content marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Well, before we go too far, what is content? As modern marketers, we've accepted content as a catch-all for almost every aspect of our work. The emails we send, the blogs we write, and the social posts we craft. And of course, the accompanying images, infographics, and videos. Let's open the dictionary and take a look at the various definitions of content. When used as a noun and pronounced content, its primary meaning is that things that are held or included in something.
So this is my favorite part of this. And that works. Content is the message in our email and not the email itself. And what is the message? You might be inclined to think that it's the copy in the body of your email, but it's not. For content marketers, the message is always the call to action. To round out our definition, I'd like to include the definition of the noun content, or a state of satisfaction. Our definition of content is then a message that prompts action designed to deliver a state of satisfaction.
Very nice.
I love that.
Let's turn to our partners at HubSpot for their definition of content marketing. Content marketing is a marketing program that centers on creating, publishing, and distributing content for your target audience, usually online, the goal of which is to attract new customers. And the most common components of a content marketing program are social media networks, blogs, visual content, premium content assets like tools, ebooks, and webinars. So to be effective at content marketing, it should naturally follow that we need a content marketing strategy. Obviously, more on that in a bit. Sam, what's the difference between content strategy and content marketing strategy?
That's really interesting. So the way that I would define it is that a content strategy is broader than a content marketing strategy. And that is beyond our scope today, so that's an important thing to note. A content strategy refers to every piece of content owned by an organization. Internal, external, marketing, sales, technical documentation, proposals, presentations. A content marketing strategy helps us create effective content for the purposes of marketing.
Excellent.
Good designation. Thank you, Ian.
Our key takeaway then. A content marketing strategy establishes brand standards and editorial direction for all content, including web, email, blog, and social channels, while always addressing your customers' unique pain points, challenges, and motivations.
Exactly.
For our 2018 State of Digital Marketing Report, we surveyed 150 marketing leaders to find out their priorities and what they see as the top marketing challenges in 2018. We found that marketing teams are prioritizing personalization and one-to-one messaging, and they're also prioritizing mobile optimization, social media effectiveness at a higher rate than they did last year. But of course, we face the arrival of new content delivery channels, such as virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR, and the emergence of new customer experience touchpoints powered by artificial intelligence, AI. So a strong digital marketing and technology foundation that delivers a full 360-degree view of the customer journey is more important today than it ever was. And an essential element of that foundation is a content marketing strategy.
Yes.
The full State of Digital Marketing report is available at silvertech.com for you to download and dive a little deeper into some of our other findings.
So for those with a documented content marketing strategy, according to the latest research from the Content Marketing Institute, they are far less challenged with every aspect of content marketing, generally more likely to consider themselves more effective with every tactic and social media channel, and able to justify a higher percentage of their marketing budget to be spent on content marketing, which makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. A documented content marketing strategy helps you drive strategic, proactive, short-term, and long-term content plans. It creates ways for you to communicate with your customers through both digital and traditional channels, leveraging competitive standards, industry best practices, and your unique customer needs.
Exactly. Jay Baer at Convince and Convert spends a great deal of time pushing marketers to ask themselves, what's your one thing? In fact, he's written an excellent book on the topic called Utility. To create demand for your product or service in your now customer-centered universe, he argues, you must help and not hype. So to do so, you must be disproportionately motivational and inspirational. I love that so much. You must create content that sets you apart, and to do so, you need to build a content marketing program from a documented content marketing strategy. But don't worry, we'll tell you how to do that.
Now, Sam, we talked about personas and a customer journey map and how those can help you avoid that self-referential design or content creation.
Yes.
Do you see a documented content marketing strategy as offering the same benefit?
Yeah, it really makes you examine every aspect of your content and how you're using it for marketing. In fact, I actually had a client that I worked with recently that they were doing social media for the purpose of social media, right? They weren't really, they were just kind of pushing stuff out. There wasn't really a strategy behind it. And as we started to look at social media as a method of amplification and not as a method of marketing, and that it was really to get that additional reach. So we added more folks within their organization into the social channels. We made sure that they were part of that content strategy, not just the leadership that was sharing it out. The results that we got were tremendous, but it was because we thought of it in terms of amplification, which is what their audience wanted. So just that's one example of hundreds that I could possibly give you about that, and why documenting it actually helped us think through all of those different pieces.
Excellent.
To definitively answer the question we posed in this section, why do I need a content marketing strategy? Here are some stats, and I love these. So content marketing costs 62% less than outbound marketing, and it generates more than 3 times as many leads. And I know that there's haters on this that will talk to me about that, but I would love to have a conversation about that. When content marketing adopters and non-adopters are compared, the adopters have conversion rates that are nearly 6 times higher than their competitors. So I know that there's a lot of different ways that we could go about that in terms of content marketing versus outbound marketing, and I do want to address those because outbound marketing is a pure numbers game, right? All you do is you basically just load the funnel with as many leads as you possibly can, and you work them down through. I think that a good marketing strategy between content marketing and outbound marketing is a good mix of both. You have to have that outbound marketing methodology in some cases, but content marketing helps you get more. So don't think that we're asking or telling you that you should just be doing content or just be doing outbound. A true marketing strategy does all of these things harmoniously. Something to really note.
Excellent. Well said.
Thanks.
The essential elements of an effective content marketing strategy. There are 8 essential elements of every effective content marketing strategy. Let's dive in.
At SilverTech, we've identified these 8 elements as the following: discovery and business needs, personas, customer journey map, content audit, content management system or CMS needs, content types, workflow and governance, and then finally a content plan and calendar. So we're going to dive through each one of those.
So first up is that discovery and business needs. So you want to start by defining your unique business needs and identifying your ideal customers in order to deliver structured, measurable, personalized, and relevant content, appealing to leads and returning customers. Sam, how important is it to define your business needs as you set out to document your content marketing strategy?
Oh my goodness, that's such a loaded question.
Right.
So the okay, let me take a step
take
back.
Yeah.
I need to actually think about how we answer that. So The way that it should always work is that there's organizational goals, and then the marketing goals support those organizational goals, and the content strategy supports the marketing goals, right?
Sure.
So that's the hierarchy that you need to be looking at. Across every single one of those things, you start to break down what KPIs need to be measured to be able to understand whether or not you're successful in all of those things. But you have to have all three of those things in place in order to be effective at anything. And so you need to know as a marketer what marketing you're going to be pushing to be able to understand how much money you need to drive for revenue.
Yep.
So in terms of documenting your strategy, all of those things are there, they're in place. It's a very clear fine line between how each thing supports that. The document only allows you to, or not only allows you to, the document allows you to verbalize that and communicate that across the organization. So that's another great reason in terms of why you need to document your strategy, content strategy, to the marketing strategy, to the business needs. That was a long answer, but I hope that answers the question for folks.
I think it did. The second element are personas. Personas are the foundation of personalized one-to-one communication. They're the fictitious representations of your audiences, who they are, what they like, and most important, what they don't like. By identifying your persona's ideal online experience, your business can create targeted content and navigate an ever-shifting digital landscape and suppress your marketing goals. Sam, we have spent a great deal of time in past webinars talking about personas, so we won't go into too much detail here, but how are personas related to your content marketing strategy?
So personas will give you a good idea of so as you just said, the content that your personas like, what they don't like, and what they're going to gravitate to,
Sure.
what their questions are going to be. It will give you personas will give you a good idea of how they want to consume that content, which is all of the basics that you need to be able to come up with a content marketing strategy that's effective.
Sure. So the channels and perhaps even
Where
the
there be,
different
yes.
types of content that those personas may prefer.
Absolutely.
That third essential element is the customer journey map. And a customer journey map, also known as the user or buyer's journey, helps solve problems for our customers at every point that they interact with our brands. It's an invaluable tool in improving the overall customer experience. Now, Sam, in the last webinar, we talked about benefits of mapping the customer journey, and one of those benefits was the content gap analysis. Could you clarify what a content gap analysis is?
Absolutely. So a content gap analysis is what you have today versus what you need to be able to effectively meet the needs of your audience. So that can take the frame of several different things. It can be the actual content, answering a particular question or what that audience member needs to consume, or it could be a gap in terms of how that content is delivered. So what that channel is or the medium. So should it be a PDF or should it be a video? Should it be an infographic or should it be a webinar for that matter? So that would be what that content gap analysis would ultimately tell you. And also how to get rid of all the junk.
Sure.
I know we all have junk that's on our site, and we all have junk that's been created or old or needs to be repurposed or needs to be removed. That will help you too. So it just gives you a nice clean slate in terms of what you have for content, and you know that it's already written for your audiences because you've already built your personas to build that.
And that leads us into the fourth essential element of an effective content marketing strategy is the content audit. So
Yes.
The customer journey map really feeds into this part. So it's part inventory, part research, part data, and part content creation. Content audit is a simple process that can yield invaluable ideas for new content. You can ask yourself, do you have the right white papers, right blog posts, FAQs for each of your personas? And you'll get the answers when you critically review your content offerings. Sam, any examples of new pieces of content that you've uncovered as you've done a content audit?
That's really interesting. And I love that you refer to it as critically review because that is exactly what it is. And we're looking at it from a non-self-referential place,
Right.
which is even better. So in terms of the new pieces of content that have been identified, every single time I've ever done a content audit, there's been something
There's
new.
something, yeah.
And it's typically because we go through the process of talking to audience members and talking to persona-based folks, that really kind of opens your eyes. So if nothing else, I would absolutely make sure that if you're doing a content strategy, that's part of your overall goals, is to make sure that you're actually speaking to the people that will consume your content so that you can come up with new, fresh ideas. Very, very helpful. And honestly, if you even talk to one person, it would make a better impact on your marketing and your content than speaking with no one.
Right. The fifth essential element we recommend is to identify your content management system, your CMS needs. That's the software that's powering your website. So as you document your content marketing strategy, you might not be in the market for a new content management system. However, there's a great value in taking this opportunity to identify your content management needs. I mean, there are hundreds of content management systems on the market, but you could likely narrow a search down to a top 10 pretty quickly. And then knowing your needs and budget, you should be able to find systems in your wheelhouse. I would start by assessing pricing, functionality, and even consider third parties to help you in your search. Sam, what difference can a content management system make to your overall content marketing?
Oh my goodness. So it's a make or break. Not to give anyone a heart attack who's looking at different content management systems, but it is a make or break. And some of the things that aren't always included in an audit are things like ease of use after. What's happening after? How easy is it for me to not only upload a page, but to change pieces of content that maybe typically don't need changing? And that's all in how your website is built. I completely understand that. But looking at things like integrations, what is the integration profile for a particular CMS? Are there a lot of integrations that they already have, or are you going to need custom code with an API? I typically am of the mindset that a best of breed solution that is integrated or that are integrated across multiple platforms. So your CMS, your marketing automation system, your CRM platform, letting everything do what it does best and then integrating those seamlessly is the way to go. And so any one of those three silos can potentially break down if you don't have the right system in place. So when you're looking at your content management system, the biggest thing that I can say to you is to really, really evaluate, make sure that you do not one, not two, maybe 3 demos, get all of your questions answered, and make sure that it's ultimately going to be a long-term solution for you. If it's an investment, it's an investment. There are ways that different organizations can work that within their financial systems if it needs to be. But it's not a light decision. I don't think that anyone in anywhere actually takes it as a light decision. But there's a lot of different factors that kind of weigh in and out. And so a tech assessment may be a good way to go about it too. But that's a long-winded answer to CMS needs, but we could probably do just a webinar just on how to evaluate and select. In fact, we have a content management system for a website redesign project or a content management project. So this is probably one of the bigger sections of this content strategy.
The sixth essential element is to identify content types. What types of content can you create? And there are a multitude of options. But ask yourself, do you have the capacity to produce video, a design team to create infographics, even the right audience for webinars? At a minimum, you should have a blogging platform that will facilitate several different types of posts, press releases, brand journalism, and thought leadership, to name a few.
Absolutely. So on this slide, you see a list of content formats from our partners at HubSpot. I've included a link to the article in the presentation. But at a quick glance, you can see that the most popular formats for content marketing are blog posts, ebooks, templates, infographics, videos, and podcasts.
Of course. Now, of course, don't forget that most reliable of content types, email.
Absolutely.
So from Content Monitor, email delivers the highest ROI for marketers and beats social 40 times over for customer acquisition. Sam, how important is email to an effective content marketing strategy?
It's extremely effective. I have to tell you that I have worked with organizations and I've worked with clients that for one reason or another did not have very good organic traffic, and they had to pay for it or they had to get it through email. And I can tell you right now that email is not dead. It is absolutely the way to primarily amplify your content.
Sure.
There are some pieces where you can get lucky, stand out from the crowd, and get some really good traction. But don't rely on that. I'm serious. Don't rely on that. That is not going to be your bread and butter. Your bread and butter is going to be email.
And that's no matter how good your content is.
Very true.
It's, as good as your blog posts may be, they do need to be discovered and
amplified.
And
however they need to be amplified. Remind people that you're there, and sometimes the easiest way to do that, particularly in B2B, sometimes in B2C, depending on where you have your setup as, but definitely email is the way to do that.
Key insight here in this section is, even with the explosion of new technology, marketers keep coming back to email. The reason is clear. For 10 years in a row, email is the channel generating the highest ROI for marketers. For every $1 spent, email marketing delivers $38 in ROI.
I would actually, it would be interesting to do that in different types of industries, because
Sure.
there are some, like the high dollar people, who it takes a long time to close a lead. I bet you it's a lot more
It's
than
even
that.
more,
Depending on your, this is a good general number, but I'm guessing that depending on your business, this could be much higher.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it could be much lower, but there is a lot that I'm guessing it's probably much higher.
That seven essential element is to establish workflow and governance. You want to develop governance and workflow plans to fit within your organization's unique procedures and uncover inefficiencies in your editorial workflow and website management processes so that you can focus on your content optimization rather than on those internal processes. Sam, internal processes are sometimes the biggest hang-up in quickly producing content. Agree? No?
I couldn't hide the word.
Yeah, right.
Excuse me. So yes, internal process is actually probably scheduling, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is internal process is typically the number one thing that we hear in terms of things getting to completion and being able to push them live.
Right.
So having good governance, having good SLAs in place are really important. And I think that one of the things that is, it's interesting. This is me out on a soapbox right now.
Right.
But it's absolutely making sure that you're training your team, you're training your marketers in what you do, so that they can effectively and quickly do things. So, for example, there's normally some type of a person within the organization who has all that information about what you do in your head. So a content expert in a certain scenario, and then marketing kind of has to get that information out of that person's head. So working with them to maybe establish some standard messaging, establish reusable pieces can certainly quickly move that along, and also having those 24 hours or less SLAs in place in terms of what you are able to accomplish. But repeatable elements also help with this.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are pre-approved that can get out the door quickly. Both are really important. So yeah.
Excellent. And the final essential element is that actual content plan and calendar. So now finally it's time to start brainstorming campaigns, schedule specific pieces of content, and assign tasks to content creators. A content plan itself can be a simple 1 to 2 page document that you update on a semi-regular basis. We recommend documenting content plans for at least 3 months at a time. Use your calendar within your marketing automation platform. HubSpot and Pardot both have effective calendar tools. Simply use a spreadsheet is another option. As long as your calendar is visible to your entire team and it remains the source of truth for your publishing schedule, it matters less what it looks like. Sam, best content calendar that you've worked with? Thoughts on social publishing tools, that sort of thing?
That's a great question. I have a lot of content tools that I do like to work with. Both of the ones that you just mentioned work fabulously well, especially when you have organizations or offices in multiple locations and you need to be online. But I would argue that any content calendar is better than no content calendar. So if you have something that's as simple as a spreadsheet with tasks and deliverables and due dates, that is completely fine and better than anyone who doesn't have that documented.
Right.
So that's really an important thing to have. In terms of publishing tools, they're not all created equal. I will say that. The other thing that's really important to understand is that you want to pick more of a long-term publishing tool, those that have really heavy integrations with the large players like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. Those are, if they have all of those and they look pretty effective, the APIs are effective, definitely go with something like that. It's interesting that most of those organizations that I just mentioned, those social organizations that I just mentioned, they want people to be going into their platform to be posting natively.
Right.
So it's really important to keep in mind that not everything is perfect from a third-party social publishing platform because they want them going in there and posting natively, but they do play in the same sandbox together. So just keep all of that in mind. Sometimes for our clients, we end up posting some posts for different platforms through a third party, and sometimes we end up posting natively. All of that works, but just kind of make sure it's working for your organization and that it looks the way that you want it to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now let's discuss how to implement a content marketing strategy. Key insight here from the Content Marketing Institute. Content marketing is not a standalone marketing technique that can thrive in a vacuum. Rather, it's something that needs to be integrated into your overarching marketing plan, as its principles will strengthen your other marketing efforts.
So, how do you use a content marketing strategy to strengthen all of your other marketing efforts? Step 1 is to include your team. Your team will provide invaluable insight as you research and develop your personas and as you map the customer journey. We recommend conducting interview sessions with your sales teams and your customer service teams. It is likely that you will uncover pain points that data research alone may not have uncovered.
Excellent. We also recommend step 2, introducing your content marketing strategy to your entire organization. The more people that within your organization that understand the why behind your content creation, the better. Just as we recommend rolling out your personas and your customer journey map to your organization, we recommend a grand rollout for your strategy. The most effective content marketing programs utilize content from many different voices within your organization's walls. So if you want blog contributions from your leadership team or your sales team, the best way to do that is to share with them the reasons why you need their creative input. Sam, we've talked about the grand rollout for personas, grand rollout for customer journey maps. And do you recommend the same?
Everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything for the reasons that you just mentioned. When people can understand how they fit into a strategy,
Right.
It's a lot easier to sell them in terms of why they need to help with that strategy. So really, really important here as well.
Excellent. And the third step to implement that content marketing strategy is to stick to your strategy. The two main pitfalls to avoid when developing a content marketing strategy are failing to document the strategy, we've talked about at length, and failing to stick to the strategy. An effective content marketing strategy will serve as a reference for every piece of content you create, and it will ensure that your content is on brand, supportive of your business goals, and reflective of your customers' needs.
Abandoning your strategy mid-flight could veer your content creation off course. In fact, it absolutely will. That doesn't mean that this is a static document. It should be a living, breathing thing. Your content marketing strategy should always evolve and should be revisited at a minimum on an annual basis.
The fourth step to implement is to really measure and share your results. How do you know if your strategy is working? And the only way to know is for certain is to measure those results. But it's critical to avoid vanity metrics. A page view on a blog is not enough. If you recall, we've defined content as a message that inspires action. You need to be measuring conversions. Of course, you can look at page views in relation to conversions, as it will give you insight into the conversion rate of a piece of content.
It has been often said that content marketers are publishers, but that's not exactly the case. As Jay Barrett Convincing Convert points out, content helps us achieve business objectives, not content objectives. A publisher wants page views, a content marketer should want conversions.
Let's conclude with priorities and key performance indicators, those KPIs. Now, we do have a blog post on this document, and I can provide that link in the follow-up to today's webinar, but we'll give you a quick overview here as we conclude.
This rising content marketing and the rising content that stresses the need for content marketing has made it very hard to get noticed online. Research from the Content Marketing Institute suggests that our heart is in the right place. 73% of us want to create more engaging content, and 58% want a better understanding of what content is effective and what isn't. And then finally, 55% of us want to create visual content.
Very nice. What then are the key performance indicators to understand the effectiveness of your content achieving these priorities? Well, if as the Content Marketing Institute asserts the ultimate goal of content marketing is to increase your brand's reach and bottom line, then the following are good indicators of reach. These are publishing KPIs. This is your unique visits, your page views, geography, and device.
And for designation, these KPIs will give you an understanding of how many people are viewing your content, how much of it they are viewing, where they are viewing it from, and on what device. Obviously, these are important metrics to know, but not true indicators of the effectiveness of your content. If we agree that the goal of content is to inspire an action that leads the reader or viewer further to the path to purchase, then the following action metrics are good indicators of how content will contribute to the bottom line and what we really want to be focusing on. So the content marketing KPIs are click-through rate, conversion rate, social sharing, and then finally bounce rate.
Each of these indicate an action. Click-through rate is a measure of how many viewers take the next step after opening an email or viewing a social post. Conversion rate is a measure of how many viewers engage with the call to action in your content. Social sharing is a measure of how many viewers are inspired to action, and that may inspire others to action. And bounce rate is an equally important factor to measure, as it gives insight into how many viewers, despite having been interested enough to get to your content, are not interested enough to hang out and take action.
Perfect.
All of the above metrics are available through a combination of Google Analytics and whatever publishing platform you may be using. To truly demonstrate how your content contributes to your bottom line, the additional steps of instituting a lead scoring program with MQLs, marketing qualified leads, and SQL, sales qualifying leads, are necessary. And we'll cover those in the next webinar in our series, How to Make the Most of Marketing Automation. A link to register will be included in our follow-up to today's presentation. We will also be following up today's webinar with a link to the on-demand presentation today and a copy of our white paper, How to Develop an Effective Content Marketing Strategy. And on behalf of SilverTech, I'm Ian.
And I'm Sam.
Thank you so much for joining us today.